Before and after celeb makeup transformation. Celebrities always look so good and glamorous on camera, right? Nope. Have you ever seen a sci-fi fantasy movie? Let's talk about some of the craziest makeup transformations actors have done for roles. Ralph Fiennes. Not every person would be thrilled to be on screen only to look like they have no nose. But for Ralph Fiennes, he was more than happy to portray the Dark Lord. Prior to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, we don't see an actual embodiment of Lord Voldemort. So when he takes physical shape in some semblance of a human body by the fourth movie, people were surprised to see how actually snake-like the movies decided to portray him as. On set, it took 2 hours to do Fiennes' makeup, which is pretty fast for special effects makeup like this, because they didn't have time to work on it any longer. Meryl Streep. She's one of those actresses that can play anybody. From Margaret Thatcher to a rabbi, Streep proves she can do it all, and even sing in musicals. But back to that rabbi. Lots of actors aren't even willing to wear masks in movies because it takes away from their face time on screen. But Streep was more than willing to play all sorts of characters for HBO's miniseries Angels in America in 2003. One of the characters required her to dress as a male rabbi. White hair, beard, wrinkles, and all. How do you think this makeup team did? Excellent? We thought so too. Heath Ledger. The late great Heath Ledger left an incredible lasting impression in the movie world before his passing in 2008. One of the last movies he worked on was Christopher Nolan's Oscar award-winning film The Dark Knight. In this sequel to Batman Begins, we see Ledger portray perhaps one of the most iconic villains of them all, the Joker. If you look closely, it's not all white makeup and red lipstick. You can see the scars on the corner of his mouth too. Makeup artist John Caglione Jr. made Ledger contort his face so that he could apply the makeup, increasing the appearance of the lines on his skin. Jacob Tremblay. The makeup department for the film Wonder, based off the novel by Stephen Chbosky, created full prosthetics for actor Jacob Tremblay. In Wonder, Tremblay plays Augie, a boy with a genetic disorder that causes deformities in the face, a condition called Treacher-Collins syndrome. You would not recognize the Room actor in his transformation for the screen. Makeup designer Arjun Tutin decided not only to work on prosthetics for everything on Tremblay's face, but also on the hair and even down to his neck. Richard Brake. The first actor to portray Game of Thrones' The Night King used to be Richard Brake. He'd play the terrifying White Walker until the 6th season. You can still see some of Brake's features when you look at the photos of the Night King, even though special effects makeup covered his entire face to make it look like he has ice-like skin and a thorn crown for a head. Emma Thompson. If you've only ever seen Emma Thompson in Nanny McPhee, then you were probably a little surprised by the end of the movie and when you realize that she actually looks like this. In order for you to really believe she's Nanny McPhee, Thompson had to sport a gray wig, get wrinkles put on her face, a unibrow, and 2 huge moles on her face, as well as a way bigger nose. Not to mention that one really big tooth. Thanks to a behind-the-scenes video, we know that this whole process takes almost 2 hours, and it's just for her face. Oscar Isaac. Actor Oscar Isaac apparently had a rough time on the set of one of the latest X-Men installments, X-Men Apocalypse. Sure, he liked the people working on the movie alongside him just fine, but let's take in the fact that he basically wore a 40-pound suit the whole time. The suit was so stuffy that it needed to include a cooling mechanism always so that Isaac wouldn't pass out from the heat underneath. Isaac also had to be covered in latex and glue on his face to get that nice blue look that makes him look like a rock. Eddie Murphy. If you watched the 1988 movie Coming to America, then you already know Eddie Murphy stars as the wealthy main character, Prince Akeem, who's on the search for a wife that loves him. In the midst of this comedic love story, you might not have realized that the old man in the movie named Saul is also Eddie Murphy. With tons of makeup to make him look older and whiter, Eddie Murphy as Saul basically looks unrecognizable in this smaller role. Nicole Kidman. She didn't have to look like an outer space creature, yet when The Hours got first released in theaters, everyone was wondering why Nicole Kidman looks so unlike Nicole Kidman. In the film, Kidman portrays legendary writer Virginia Woolf, and the director thought she'd look much more like Woolf if Kidman wore a prosthetic nose. Apparently, the whole process took about 3 hours every day. Kidman appeared pleased with the results and even commented that it was nice to be able to walk to her trailer with no one recognizing her. Charlize Theron. For a movie titled Monster, Charlize Theron didn't have to dress up in a furry suit and fangs. Instead, Theron portrayed real-life serial killer Eileen Wuornos. For the role, Theron not only had to gain about 50 pounds, or 22.6 kilograms, but she also had to go through a lot of makeup to make her look not as beautiful as she naturally is. Her co-star for the film, Christina Ricci, complimented Theron, saying that yes, the transformation for Theron was extreme physically, but that there's not enough fat or prosthetics in the world to hide a bad performance. and she is incredible in the movie. Ryan Reynolds. Lucky for the makeup department of Deadpool, the title character wears a mask for most of the movie when he's not looking like regular Ryan Reynolds at the beginning. Reynolds put in a lot of effort to get a Deadpool movie actually made. At one point in the first movie, he had to turn into burnt-faced Wade Wilson before donning that famous mask. Makeup had to get rid of his eyebrows, make his skin super red, and add scars and patches down to Reynolds' neck. Tilda Swinton. A lot of kids might recognize Tilda Swinton best as the Ice Witch from the first Narnia movie, and it's an image that suits her well. Tilda Swinton even portrayed an angel in Constantine, and that suits her too. She's used to being seen as this ethereal, androgynous being that looks like she's from the same planet as David Bowie, and you can't tell how old she is. Wes Anderson wanted her to look really old though for the Grand Budapest Hotel movie. Liver spots, wrinkles, and white hair, Swinton transforms into the 84-year-old Madame D when Swinton herself was only 55 years old. Johnny Depp. Where do we start with Johnny Depp in makeup? From Captain Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, to Willy Wonka, Depp has no shortage of different extreme looks he's had to undergo for a film he's working on. Today, we're talking about Depp's transformation into the Mad Hatter for Tim Burton's adaptation of Alice in Wonderland. Just check out that ginger wig. Now we know what Depp looks like as a ginger, and it's not a sight to be desired. But for the role, it's great. Take a look at his eyes though. They're a different color for sure, but more effects were emphasized around his eyes to make them look bigger and yellower. Mad Hatter suffers from mercury poisoning in his hat, so they put some purple and greens into his skin and even painted his nails yellow. Cate Blanchett. In the film I'm Not There, a number of talented actors portray a version of Bob Dylan that's never really explicitly said he's Bob Dylan, but with that title and those clothes, we all know. We did say actors, but we should add that there's one actress to play the fictional Dylan too. Of course, it would be Cate Blanchett. Trust this woman to push the limits of her creativity. Makeup and prosthetics transform the blonde bombshell into petite little Bob Dylan, complete with a curly-haired wig. Film critics would even argue she did the best job out of all of them. Bill Skarsgård. Props to Bill Skarsgård. Not everyone would like to be known as the guy who dresses up as a clown to scare little kids for money. That's exactly what he did for his role in the newest remake of It. Skarsgård did say he felt immensely excited to play the iconic clown and commented on how terrifying it actually was to see himself in the makeup for the first time. His younger co-stars all commented on the strangeness on how normal Skarsgård acted in makeup when the camera wasn't on. Naomi Grossman. How many of you have seen the American Horror Story season titled Freak Show? Most of those actors had to do a lot of makeup for that one. Sarah Paulson had 2 heads for crying out loud. Though perhaps the most startling was actress Naomi Grossman's transformation into the microcephalic character Pepper. To turn into Pepper, Grossman had to get her head shaved and get a bunch of extra big prosthetics applied to her face, such as her ears, nose, teeth, not to mention those hands too. Idris Elba. There's no way you'd know that Idris Elba played Krall in Star Trek Beyond unless you A. knew beforehand he was cast, or B. stayed to read the credits after the movie. On looks alone, how would you even be able to know? The makeup for the whole movie was so good that the film got nominated for an Oscar for Best Costume and Makeup. Joel Harlow and Richard Alonso's makeup team for the film not only had to deck Elba out in special effects makeup, but a whole horde of people had to play different space things too. Robin Williams. Of course, 90s kids will remember this one best. Who could forget Robin Williams transforming into an old lady? Robin Williams took on the role of Daniel Hillard, who does himself up as an old woman and calls himself Mrs. Doubtfire in an attempt to see his kids after a custody battle. Williams first got his face cast so that the makeup team could make a whole mask that he could wear. The mask was made from separate pieces to allow Williams to move his face as much as possible when it was on, so that we could see his emotions better on camera. Zoe Saldana. We're not talking about Zoe Saldana in Avatar, which required more CGI, though it does show that Saldana's no stranger to covering her face for a big blockbuster movie, which is only our loss if anything. In Guardians of the Galaxy, Saldana got cast to be Gamora, an alien being. Head to toe, she needs to appear green on screen, so Saldana starts off her filming days by getting put into a full head cast. All the green makeup itself takes about 5 hours to be applied. No CGI at all. She also had just given birth before the first movie began filming, meaning she needed to drop about 70 pounds beforehand too. What could number 1 be? Before we tell you, answer this question for us. What makeup-heavy movie role did you wish you got cast to portray? Let us know in the comments below. 1. Rebecca Romain. For Rebecca Romain, most days filming for the X-Men movies required her to be painted blue head to toe. She had to spend about 8 hours in makeup every day she needed to be in Mystique's natural form, which requires her to look blue and scaly all over. Wherever she walked, Romain says she left a trail of blue on the floor. Jennifer Lawrence plays a younger version of the same character in the newer prequel X-Men movies, but because the paint irritated her skin, she needs to wear a bodysuit instead. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's vid, don't forget to smash that like button. Make sure you've subscribed and turned that bell notification on for more content from us.